Welcome back to our study of John's Gospel. I'm Ian, and this is the Selah Time to Pause podcast from Plexus Salvation Army, an online church in the UK.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird's a winner. Well, a bird is a winner.
Have you heard the word? The word everyone's talking about? Because the word can get around. Because when something's popular, when something's amazing, when something's new and exciting and thrilling, when someone does something that's surprising, dreadful, awful, or shocking, the word gets around. It may be the news about a new video game due for release, or a surprise eviction from Love Island, or for my generation, perhaps more likely from the Great British Bake Off. It may be the news about a new coffee shop that's just opened, or a band that's coming to town, or that someone else has just taken the stand in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. It may be a piece of gossip about a marriage breaking up, or about two friends getting engaged. It could be about a teenager failing their driving test, or a grandmother winning the lottery and donating it all to their cat. When the news is juicy, it gets about. And in today's reading, as we slowly work our way through John's Gospel, it's the news that the Messiah has come that begins to spread.
John chapter 1, verses 40 to 42. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of these men who heard what John said and then followed Jesus. Andrew went to find his brother, Simon, and told him, "We have found the Messiah," which means Christ.
I will stop and breathe in your presence. Just breathe. Just breathe.
Did you notice the first thing Andrew did after he started following Jesus? He searched and found his brother and told him about Jesus. In fact, each time we meet Andrew in the Gospel of John, he's bringing others to Jesus. He comes across as one of those people who get so enthused and excited about things that the news just comes bubbling up out of him. But here we see that as he first discovers this news of who Jesus is, and that the Messiah he and all Israel has been waiting for has now come, he's so full to bursting with this news that he has to run and find someone to tell them, and so he runs to find his brother Simon. In modern-day Britain, we tend to be a little more reserved and hold our excitement in, but this was beyond what Andrew could manage. William Punchen, the 19th century Methodist preacher, missionary to Canada and eventual president of the Methodist Conference, tried to capture Andrew's enthusiasm in his writing thus.
There was joy in the breast of the geometrician of Syracuse when he uttered his glad "Eureka!" in the hearing of people who deemed him mad. There was joy in the soul of Newton when the first thought of gravitation burst upon his wondering view. There was joy in the spirit of Columbus in that moment of serene triumph over doubt and mutiny, when the tiny land birds settled upon the shrouds of his vessel, bearing upon their timid wings the welcomes of a new world. There is joy for the gold finder when the rich ore glistens in his cradle. Joy for the emigrant when, after years of absence and hardship, he first glimpses his boyhood's home again. Joy for the child when he is let into another and yet another of the marvels of the world and claps his hands for very joy and wonder. Joy for the poet when he sends a glad thought careering through the world and stirring the pulses of mankind. But oh, of all the joys that human hearts can be thrilled by, commend me to that when the glad disciple clasps a brother's hand and says, "We have found the Messiah." Then all doubt ceases, and fear is banished from the mind, and condemnation lifts its shadow from the spirit, and sweet peace nestles in the breast, and holy love throws itself upon the believing heart, and a new-found sense of reconciliation pulsing through the veins makes all creation more beautiful and brings a rarer melody than the music of the spheres and throws a brighter azure upon the opening heavens.
No sooner had Andrew finally been persuaded that Jesus was indeed the Messiah, and his heart was filled with all the emotion of that realization, than he simply had to go out and become an evangelist spreading the word. It's what we do in most walks of life today. Last month, when I found out that Aldi was selling cheese and onion hot cross buns, which, by the way, were amazing toasted and smothered in hot butter, no sooner had I found out that they were selling them than I had to tell friends about them and encourage them to buy a pack while the butter was still melting on the second half of the bun. And then, only a week or so ago, when I started reading a book that had brought my attention, I found myself sending WhatsApp messages to some other friends of sections that I'd been highlighting before I'd even finished the chapter or even moved on to the next paragraph. I didn't wait to finish the book. I just simply set about the task of sharing my experience straight away. It's what we do in most areas of life today, and indeed we probably love it when others share their experiences with us, raw, but it seems less likely that we do it in our religious life. For some reason, it seems that we want to tailor that message a little bit more, to work on it, polish it, study it fully and understand all the possible nuances of that experience in a way that would just seem silly if we were talking about a cheesy toasted tea cake. And we seem to want to wait until someone else had the experience and has found a clever, persuasive way of sharing the message of Jesus before we'll tell others. And then it seems we just seem to want to invite a friend to hear what the other person says. Yet we'd never dream of waiting to invite a friend to come and hear someone else talk about how much they liked the hot cross bun. We'd just tell them. And yet for those of us who believe that Jesus really is the Messiah, the chosen one, God the Son come to earth with a message of free and full salvation, surely we must admit that the message of Jesus is far more important than the message of Aldi's cheese and onion hot cross buns. Andrew did not wait until he'd been made an apostle or even a regular disciple. He began at once. If we never think about sharing the good news of the gospel until we've been commissioned by a church to that task, we should think seriously if we ought to be commissioned to it at all. It's a thought I've often shared with leaders, and particularly prospective leaders, in churches where I've had the privilege of being appointed minister. If God's calling you to some task or to some work, then just do it. If your heart is full to bursting and you feel that you cannot but do what God has called you to, then just do it. Don't wait for a commission or some enabling words from the pulpit, but just do it. The impetus to work for God should come from Him, and the enablement should be His power within. In neither case should the impetus or the enablement be a piece of paper. And it's not necessary to wait for a great deal of knowledge. Let's use the knowledge we have, not pretending to have more. Andrew didn't spend 4 years in college, nor did he shut himself away for a decade or two so that he knew the answers to any question anyone may possibly even ask. He simply shared what filled his heart, and he didn't pretend to know more. And he found that it was more than enough. His message was simple. We've found the Christ. But it led his brother to want to learn more. And this is indeed all that any of us, if we are true evangelists, ever need to say. We've found the Christ. It's enough to share the message of a new coffee shop and to see its clientele grow. Enough to share the news of a new book or video game. It's even enough to lead others to buy a cheese and onion hot cross bun. And if we believe in the product enough, then it can speak for itself then. A message more eloquent than our words could ever have been. Perhaps today you might be an Andrew too. Who is someone with whom you would like to share Jesus? For the message you share is a simple one and a natural one that should flow from a joy-filled heart. It's based on true personal experience and it overflows as a true personal testimony. I have found the Christ. He has met my need. He will meet yours. Will you not come and see?
There is good news for the captive, good news for the shame. There is good news for the one who walks away. And there is good news for the doubter, the one religion failed. For the good Lord has come to seek and save. He's our rescuer. He's our rescuer. We are free from sin forevermore. Oh, how sweet the sound. Oh, how grace abounds. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. He is beauty for the blind man, riches for the poor. He is friendship for the one the world ignores. And he is pasture for the weary, rest for those who strive. For the good Lord is the way, the truth, the life. foot of Calvary. 'Cause there is redemption for every affliction here at the foot